Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome back to another episode of B6 and Beyond. You're here with myself, Cory, and Ben. Ben, how are you, pal?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, mate. Before we get into everything, as always, make sure you hit that subscribe button. At the moment, over on our TikTok as well, which will be linked in the bio, we are currently doing a giveaway for match tickets to the game against Man City. So make sure you go over there and hit the follow button as well. Ben, it's been a while since we've done a podcast. However, in that time, we have been to Rotterdam. We've done a vlog, things like that. So it's good to see you. It's good to be able to have a little chat over the phone for once rather than in person. But it's all positive at the moment. That's the main thing to take from it. I think the Fulham game was the last podcast we did. So we had the Bologna and Fulham game, which we won. And then the Feyenoord and Burnley game, which we won as well. So where do you think we should kick it off? Should we kick it off with Feyenoord?
Yeah, I think we could just talk about it in general.
Yeah, of course.
There's definitely a better mood in the fan base now. Of all the Unai Emery out fans seem to have swiftly shut up, I'm very glad to see. And it feels nice that we've actually going into this international break on a positive compared to the last one. I hate international football. I really do. Unless it's tournaments, I really hate it. And it just really is a bugbear. Is that the word I'm looking for? Anyway, I hate it, to summarise. But we went into the last international break on a real downer, didn't we? And we kind of went into that needing the international break, whereas this one now, it feels like it's come kind of at the wrong time for some reasons. Wrong reason because obviously we're in a bit of momentum and we're starting to tick, starting to flow. But then the good reasons, it kind of gets our players back. Well, we would have thought it would have, but that's something we'll touch on a little bit further down in the podcast.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, mate. I think obviously last international break we saw the first goal at Villa Park, which was scored by England, which says a lot about sort of where we were at that stage. As you mentioned, obviously the Unai Emery out brigade have gone. I think that was always going to be short-lived. Let's be honest. I think we all knew deep down that those results weren't going to keep coming. I think as much as we weren't playing well, and at times it did look like where were we going to get goals from. We always had the players to do it. You've got people like Daniel Marlin chipping in with goals now. Obviously, Buendia is turning into a second version of Messi. Ollie Watkins got his first goal of the season and has started linking up play well as well. People like Gesson are getting involved a bit more. Obviously, he's not scored yet, but he's making a nuisance of himself. Obviously, one player we haven't seen much of is Harvey Elliott, which hopefully this international break comes at the right time for him. You've mentioned about sort of coming at the right time. It gives him a chance to sort of have 2 weeks now, or a week, I think it is, with Unai Emery, and hopefully they can sort of squash whatever beef it is they have. And
I don't think it's beef as such. Unai Emery does this, though, didn't he? He did it with Morgan Rogers, and correct me if I'm wrong. I know there was another one, but I can't think of who it is.
But Odegaard was the same, I think.
Yeah, he actively comes out and he does kind of dig them out in the media, and I don't think he does it maliciously. The way what he's doing, he's trying to push them. And look, realistically, I know Morgan Rogers has been at a lower standard over the last few months, if not even towards the back end of last season, but we saw a player that won PFA Young Player of the Year at the start of last season. That's because of Unai Emery's ways of coaching. For me, I'm not concerned at all. I think Harvey Elliott will come into his own. He's a fantastic player. We've seen what he's done at Liverpool, and ultimately, if it was for heaven's sake that Unai Emery has made the decision that he doesn't think this is just me playing devil's advocate, because I know there's two sides to the coin and people are talking this way, so I'll acknowledge it. If Unai Emery has made that decision, then fair enough. I'll back Unai Emery's decision, but personally, at this point, I think that's speculation, and I think it's stupid talk to even be entertaining that. Yeah. This is kind of what Unai Emery does. I'm pretty sure from now until Christmas, we're going to see a lot of Harvey Elliott, and he's going to kick on.
I think that's the thing. You mention it there, and obviously you have to say as well, when you look at the players that are playing, other than maybe Morgan Rogers, where does he sort of get into the team in the positions where people are playing? Obviously, you've got the likes of Gesson now, who he's playing well. He's doing the defensive job well. Buendia's obviously turned up this season and playing well. I think the only place where you do say is probably Morgan Rogers, and I think weirdly enough, this little experiment that Emery had going on where he was trying to play him back into form, it's slowly starting to work. I think that's fair to say. He's still not obviously the same Morgan Rogers, but obviously he got that assist against Burnley, which was a very nice assist. We're seeing him take on players now. I think against Feyenoord, I think it was, which we watched the game against Feyenoord, and the stats I wouldn't believe them if they weren't there on paper. He actually had quite a decent game in terms of, I think he gave the ball away 4 times with his passing, and I think he had something like 5 out of 6 or 6 out of 6 completed dribbles as well.
I'd love to see when the 4 out of 4 times he gave the ball away, because that must have all come in the first half. Because in the first half he seemed to give the ball away an awful amount. Because that's why I mentioned it actually on the halftime bit of the vlog. But yeah, he's been better. Definitely been better. He's still not the Morgan Rogers that we know. He provided a lovely assist for Daniel Marlon for the second goal against Burnley. But he's definitely looking better. I still think he's got a few more levels to go up. But Harvey Elliott is a weird one for me, because they say that, Emery wanted Lucas Paquetá allegedly over Harvey Elliott, but I think they're different players for me. I don't know if I see Harvey Elliott as a number 10. I think he's a right midfielder, like a right winger, inside forward. He reminds me of Mohamed Salah. Like, not to say he's anywhere near that level,
yeah.
but like,
he's played there for Liverpool, hasn't he?
Yes, he has. Yeah,
he's done that exact role.
Well, when he come on against PSG and he scored that goal
Yeah.
to win the game away for Liverpool last season, he come on at right wing and he slotted it past the keeper. He's best when he's on that right wing, cutting in and having a pop shot at goal. But I just don't know whether he's defensively good enough for that role. I don't know. These are the anomalies that we're not quite aware of, because realistically, when he was at Liverpool, you don't need to see that side of Harvey Elliott, because Liverpool are on the front foot all the time. And if for Liverpool, he would have been told to express himself, go and do things, go and affect the game in the final third. Didn't really need to see it as much at Liverpool, his defensive work. And I think this is what he lacks at the moment. And this is what Unai Emery's working on. He's positioning defensively, transition, getting back into position, getting into the right areas to ensure that Villa aren't hurt. And like I said, I just don't think I think he's very much been a luxury player at Liverpool. Whereas Villa, we don't have that luxury that we can carry a body. We need to have everyone finely attuned all the time, otherwise it doesn't work, and that's Unai Emery's system.
100%. I think I saw a TikTok today actually, and someone said about Aston Villa, and they call them wing fielders. So obviously they're not wingers and they're not midfielders. They play in that sort of inverted role. And a perfect example actually, when you talk about the luxury side of things, is Marcus Rashford last season. When he first came into Villa, he struggled a bit when it came to the defensive side. He wasn't doing a lot, and I think that was one thing that Villa fans dug him out for, was his ability to take players on was brilliant, but he wasn't tracking back and he wasn't helping the likes of Matson, he wasn't helping the likes of Digne. But then after a few weeks, all of a sudden we're seeing him sprint 50, 60 yards back to win that ball back, similar to what Gesson's done straight away. It's weird really how, I think Gesson, obviously, I want to talk about Gesson because I think he deserves his flowers in terms of his determination as well. He came into Villa with this exciting attacking threat that he offered, and he's gone the opposite way, where what we're saying about Elliott not necessarily doing the defensive work, Gesson does the defensive work, and now slowly he's starting to pick up a bit more in the attacking front. And he's still a bit clunky, don't get me wrong, but that comes.
It's getting there, isn't it?
Exactly, and I think the difficult part is as well is Harvey Elliott's not seeing a lot of the ball when he's playing for Villa. I think that's fair to say as well. In the games he has played, the games that he started, so the game against Fulham where he started, and obviously Buendia came on, he didn't really see a lot of the ball, Harvey Elliott. I don't think he was demanding the ball as much as maybe Emery would have wanted, which is, again, one of those roles that we have with those wing fielders where we want those players coming and getting the ball. We want everyone to do what Morgan Rogers does in getting the ball on the halfway line, turning and pushing us forward. Asensio used to do it all the time for us. Rashford did it last season. Marlon does it. Marlon's did it against Burnley actually on the weekend a couple of times where he'd come short to receive the ball. But I don't think Elliott's doing that, and I think it is just a learning curve.
As you've just mentioned, Marlon, I can't remember. I can't remember the list of where we're going to talk, but I just want to talk about this briefly. What did you think of the formation switch against Burnley? And we went for a more of a 4-2-2-2 formation with Marlon actually playing as a second striker. It reminded me of massively the season when we had Diaby next to Watkins massively, and I think if that can be unlocked, that's a massive tool for us that is going forward for the remainder of the season because Marlon looks so dangerous in that role.
Definitely. I think the thing is as well is one thing everyone knows, especially Villa fans, is we don't attack down the wings. We never really have. Even when we had the likes of Leon Bailey and Diaby, we didn't attack down the wings. We attacked very narrow. We used the speed we've got to create the space in the middle. So obviously Marlon's first goal, that ball's gone straight down the middle. It's not gone sort of anything like that. And the best way to break it down as well is when we played that two up top, what happened was naturally we dragged out the defenders. So against Fulham we did it a little bit. We went into that two up top when we had Gesson and Watkins playing as a two up top. And what was happening was Anderson and Bassey came forward, which allowed Watkins to go in behind. Similar on the weekend, Esteve and I don't know who the other Burnley centre-back is.
Dara O'Shea, isn't it?
Dara O'Shea.
Oh, no. Well, it weren't Esteve, were it? I thought it was Dara O'Shea and Tuanzebe this weekend. I'm sure it was. I'd have to double check, but Tuanzebe definitely played.
But what they were doing was obviously them two were also coming to meet. Just looking now.
It was Esteve and it was Tuanzebe. They played a back five according to this.
Yeah, Josh Laurent, Tuanzebe, and Esteve. Well, Josh Laurent's not really a centre back, so that's a weird sort of formation there. But either way, what was happening then was, as we were seeing, was they were dragging out those players to the halfway line, allowing that space in behind. So the likes of Marlon, what Watkins would do is Watkins would come and he'd drift off slowly to one side, allowing that space in between the centre half and Marlon to run into. And I think, like you say, it could be a killer formation for us, similar to when we had Diaby doing it and when Leon Bailey was doing it a couple seasons ago. Marlon's definitely a player who can do that.
Yeah, it was that Esteve. I for some reason, I thought it was Dara O'Shea. I had no idea. I was at the game, and also I didn't look at the Burnley team at all because don't understand. No, but I didn't really care, to be honest. I thought we should beat whatever they put in front of us. But he actually looks a little bit like Dara O'Shea on the pitch. That's why I thought it was him. And I don't think that Josh Laurent was in centre half because
No, Josh Laurent was playing against. He was pushing on against Bogard. He was playing as a 10. So I don't know why they've got him as a.
That's very strange. But I do remember seeing Tuanzebe. I don't think he had that bad of a game, to be honest with you.
It's like I say, that it's a brilliant formation for us because the centre-backs naturally come onto the strikers. And we've got two very quick strikers where if one of them can make that move off to one wing, we've got that space in the middle for the other one to run into, like Marlon did twice.
Yeah, he was definitely a lot better. I thought Daniel Marlon. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do now for the remainder of the campaign. I mean, the remainder of the season because, like I say, he was much improved.
And I think that's the thing is I think we're seeing Villa players fighting for their position as well. You look at Buendia this season in pre-season. He said he didn't want to go, and he's come up trumps. He's obviously got the goal against Feyenoord. He's got his goal and assist against Fulham. Mm-hmm. He's showing his worth really. The same with Daniel Marlon. Daniel Marlon had a brilliant pre-season. Again, got dropped to the bench, but got his chance against Burnley to start the game and got 2 goals. Because I think that was one of his weaknesses last year, was starting games. When he was starting games, he didn't really have the impact he had when he was coming off the bench. Whereas to do that, I know, okay, people will say, oh, it's Burnley, this, that and the other. And I personally wouldn't say that because a Premier League team's a Premier League team. It doesn't matter who they are. But especially a Scott Parker team who's always going to sit behind the ball. But that's another key point, is it changes that formation where Bogard's dropping into a back 3 and we're pushing Digne and Cash forward. That allows us to break down those low blocks, which is exactly what we've struggled with for ages.
I really liked how Lamar Bogard dropped into that right-sided centre-back role as well when we made it a 3. I thought that it's very clever. We did that a lot in that season when we had Diaby up top and then Kamara used to drop into the back 3. But obviously Kamara's not doing it at the moment because he's playing more of, say, the Tielemans role. And actually, give him props, Kamara was very, very good this weekend, and his ball for the Marlon's first goal, that was Tielemans-esque.
Yeah. Well, one of the things we spoke about on the podcast with Luke when Luke was on here was about how in pre-season Kamara was playing a bit higher, and with his ability to win the ball back, we were getting a lot of joy from winning the ball higher up, and that's what it allows him to do. Kamara, the fact that Bogar can now drop into that space, Kamara can play that bit further up, and McGinn can come and support as well, and McGinn can press further up. It just seems like a better formation for Villa in general. And again, props where it's props are due. Pau Torres, me and you have both said it. We said it at the start of the season.
Oh wow,
We didn't think he was good enough. And fair play, hold our hands up. He's come back and he's been phenomenal. Not just his passing, his defending as well.
Defensive work's been so underrated, and look, and Cory, let's be realistic. It's not just me and you, mate. I think a large portion of the Villa fan base, and there'll be people probably watching this that will say, "Oh no, well I never." Don't chat out your arse. Like there was a very big portion of the Villa fan base, especially towards the end of last season, that was saying he was too weak, he was too slow, not built for the Premier League, but. Look, let's just take it with a pinch of salt at this minute. The standards, the levels of the opposition that we have played are not, they're not the Liverpools, they're not the Man Cities, but they're still decent outfits, and ultimately he's held his own and he's done well. So give credit where credit's due, and he's played well. And not just that, I don't think we need to talk just about him in terms of his defensive work rate, but ultimately Villa look a better side with him in there. I love Tyrone Mings, I really do, and I'll die on the hill. Tyrone Mings is a Villa legend for me, and he'll go down as a Villa legend. But his passing ability is nowhere near the level of Pau Torres's. Pau Torres is for me one of our best players in terms of ball playing. And if you need a player to find those pockets, find the passing lanes, he's your man.
And our lines as well. A couple seasons ago, one thing that was winning us a lot of games was holding that line. With Pau Torres, I think what tends to happen is, and I think it may not be down to this, but I personally think it's down to, I think he knows, and we all know he's not quick enough. We know this. So his idea is, if he holds that line, if they're offside, brilliant, they've done the job. In reality, if they're not offside, he's not keeping up with them. I think that's why Mings naturally drops. Mings knows he's quicker than a lot of people. Mings is very fast for a centre-half. So he tends to drop that bit deeper just to give himself that extra edge, whereas Pau Torres won't do that. And holding that line is what creates us chances. We're winning free kicks basically on the halfway line, which means within 2 or 3 passes we're in opposition boxes, things like that. And fair play to him, like I say, he deserves all the credit he's getting at the moment.
Be interesting to see if he starts against Tottenham. Sorry, I'm not sure how far Mings is off, to be honest with you, but
I don't think he'll risk Mings. Well, I hope he wouldn't risk Mings.
I think he'll start. I really do. Yeah. God, I hope we beat Spurs. It'll be an interesting game, but if we beat Spurs and make it 5 wins on the bounce and do that, 5 wins before the United strand does. Yeah. And United, that'd be quite funny, I think, to have. But I think we can beat Spurs. I'm not a massive fan of Spurs. I don't think they're a good outfit, to be honest with you. I think some of their fans massively overrate some of their players. I'll come across the 2 of their TikTokers that I don't really like, to be honest with you. I don't like their content. They are very anti-Villa. I won't mention the names, but pretty sure if you're listening to this, you'll know who I'm on about. But they was like putting Romero and Van der Ven in 2 of the best centre backs in the Premier League, and I'm like, what? Genuinely, I don't understand. I'm being biased as a Villa fan, but I don't see what Ezri Konsa is like in terms of, if you give me Romero or Ezri Konsa, I would be picking Ezri Konsa every day of the week over Romero.
I'm not getting involved in that one. I do. Listen, from a biased point of view, I will stand on that hill that Ezri Konsa is a phenomenal player, and for me, he's first name on the team sheet for us, and should be first name on the team sheet for England alongside Mark Gay. Those 2, it's solidified for me. But yeah, no. When it comes to Spurs, I think if it was the start of the season, I was a bit concerned. I'm not going to lie. I thought they started brilliantly under Frank. They looked a good team, scary, and then all of a sudden, that loss to Bournemouth. Then it's a draw against Wolves. Then obviously I live in Leeds. When I got my haircut today, my barber's a Leeds fan. He said that on paper, Tottenham probably should have battered them, but they were very fortunate that they didn't get something from that Leeds. I know it's Ellen Road. I know Ellen Road's a tough place to go, but like you say, I think we're playing them at the right time as well. They're not in like a rich vein of form. We are. Obviously, the international break will come into play, which we can get onto now a bit. We're not going to talk actually about the international break as such because no one cares about the international break.
I was going to say, do you want to see me kill myself on live stream?
We're actually going to talk about a specific player who's on international break, a player who Ben's actually done a TikTok on himself, and it's divided a few opinions to say the least, and has created a bit of a bad relationship between Aston Villa and Belgium as an international.
Oh, right, yeah.
So, Amadou Onana comes back and plays 4 or 5 minutes against Burnley. I don't think he touched the ball. Actually, I think he might have won one header, but that was it. For me, I think Villa need to be more resilient and just say, listen, a player who we're going to get into in a second in Yuri Tielemans isn't playing for us at the moment because of Belgium, because he's gone to their international break. I understand you represent your country, you want to go, but he's gone to their international break last time round and got injured. Amadou Onana's obviously just come back and is now probably going to play 90 minutes, I'd imagine, because I don't really know who else Belgium's midfield consists of.
I think he needs Sal Leonardo.
In terms of...
Just get rid of him. £50 million midfielder. We haven't got a £50 million midfielder from him. If we can recoup majority of that and move him to Saudi or whatever, I'd get rid of him personally. That's my opinion. I've been quite consistent with in terms of I think Lamar Bogart's breaking into the side. We've got McGinn, Kamara, Tielemans when fit. Now Lamar Bogart, there's your 4 that can play in that area. I would get rid of him and use that funds to go and strengthen in another area because he's just inconsistent with his fitness, inconsistent with his performances. Just come back. And personally, if you know, I get wanting to play for your country, but ultimately, you know, who's paying your wages? Who are paying you that 140k a week? Aston Villa Football Club are.
Is there any part of you that feels a bit for him in this situation? Because obviously, reading into it a bit more, by the sounds of it, Villa basically like, we don't want him to go. Belgium then came back and said, well, we want him here. He didn't really have any sort of say yes or no. And then the Belgium staff did medical stuff on him. Villa staff did the same. And both of them came to an agreement and said, yeah, he can go and play for you. So it was a mutual decision between the club and country. Is there any part of you that feels like maybe... Because it is a difficult situation, especially for a young man. He's obviously going to want to play for his country, but...
The players always make the decision. If they don't want to play, the amount... How many times have we seen players pull out of international duty with a tiny injury or... Oh, I'm a bit sore. I'm a bit, you know. They give all the bollocks under the sun, and they pull out. And Arna's clearly wanted to go, and I get it. I'm not slicing him for wanting to go. Ultimately, he's representing his country, but it's a sore one. I think personally.
Yeah, it is a sore one, definitely. I guess it can be seen both ways as well in terms of.
Do you know what's the most frustrating thing? They're playing against North Macedonia and Wales.
The question there is, do you think they see that as minutes then? Because to be fair, as silly as it sounds, North Macedonia and Wales are probably teams that could beat... I think North Macedonia have beaten Belgium the last few times they played them, actually. And Wales, obviously, on good form there. The Wales international break, by the way, I know we said we weren't going to talk about the international break, but I just quickly want to mention this. Wales, why they've decided to play England before a massive qualifier against Belgium is beyond me. But... yeah, it's a bit of a sore one. I think, obviously, we'll leave it at that when it comes to Onana and then go on to... It's a bit of bad news. I mean, if you'd have asked us this 4 or 5 weeks ago, it would have been really bad news. But as Ben's mentioned about certain players stepping up, it's not as bad as it could have been. Yuri Tielemans...
It's still crap.
It is still crap, but... 5 weeks, is it 5 weeks on top or is it 3 weeks on top of the 2 weeks he was meant to be out for.
It says 5. It just says 5 weeks, and I'm assuming that's 5 weeks from now. So
Okay.
you're looking
So
middle of November.
obviously, I mean, I did a TikTok on it earlier for our page. He was our player of the season last season. So losing your player of the season is always going to be difficult. This season, before his injury, he wasn't playing great, and I think it probably had something to do with, I think he probably did have a little niggle before, and it's progressively got worse from the game he's played. Thankfully, Lamar Bogart's playing well at the moment. Kamara's obviously doing his job. McGinn's sat into the 6 role well and can play further up. A player who we always forget about and I forgot about earlier, and Ross Barkley is back.
Yeah, I forgot about him. I wouldn't hold your
Wood.
breath though. He'd probably be out by the time they get the games come around.
And Touchwood, Amadou Onana is back as things stand. So depth-wise, it's not too big of a concern. Obviously, we don't really have anyone in the squad who can do what Tielemans does. Although Kamara, like you say, Kamara's starting to do it a little bit, but it's still not his role. So Ben, where are your thoughts at with it all?
It's not good, is it? Let's be realistic. To miss Yuri Tielemans. Like Tielemans that was our player of the season last season. But like I said, if we can carry an injury in any position on the pitch, it's centre midfield because we're just stacked in that area with talented players. I think the thing is, we obviously got Tottenham, Man City, and Liverpool coming up next. So you want your strongest side available, don't you? Let's be realistic. Whether Tielemans would have played anyway against Spurs, I highly doubt it, because even if he was back for that game, it wouldn't have been probably risked for 90. He probably would have come off the bench. So I wouldn't be too concerned. Maybe Onana might feature if he gets through the international break without picking up an injury, and he gets some minutes under his belt. Maybe Onana might feature. That might be what the club have decided. Why he's going to go away with Belgium, just get
Potentially, yeah,
some minutes under his belt for those games. I don't think we can really read too much into the whole situation. It's just incredibly frustrating. We haven't seemed to have a fully fit squad since the start of the season. And now, you've obviously got the Jadon Sancho one as well with his mysterious illness as well that's kept him out.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, hopefully
going
he's
on?
back
Hopefully.
to those games as well.
Well, I'd like to see him start against Spurs off that left wing. To be honest with you, I think he would give us a decent option off that left wing with Rodgers or at the 10. McGinn's. You could look at McGinn centre mid with Kamara.
Yeah,
I know we're the presidents of the Lamar Bogard fan base, but I definitely think that's an option. I think when you're playing a team like that, you want players that can do damage in the final third, and Jadon Sancho has got the ability to do so.
Definitely, I think that's the thing. Like you say, it's frustrating when you see that we haven't got a full squad at the moment. One thing I will say, and this is probably going to sound really harsh on Yuri Tielemans, and I don't mean it to be. When I did see the news, I'm not going to lie, I wasn't that bothered. It sounds incredibly harsh, but I saw it and I was just like, at this point, I'm not bothered. This is a big shout out to Wayne as well, who I presume won't watch this, but he watches the TikToks, who's saying about Bogard having 2 good games and will go missing in the next 3 games. Here's the perfect chance for Lamar Bogard to prove whether he is that quality of player we think he is. He's going to come up against 3 decent teams. He's coming up against a Man City midfield, which is one of the best in the league. Liverpool midfield, that's one of the best in the league. And I couldn't tell you who Spurs have in the midfield, if I'm honest. And I think it's probably Bentancur, so it's not too much of a...
Well, Bentancur, Bergvall and Pap Sarr in it, and Pap Sarr absolutely ripped us apart at their place last year.
He did, yeah.
Man City will be potentially without Rodri, though, won't they? I'm not sure what the extent of that injury is. I know he had picked up one, didn't he, in the last game away at Brentford, I believe it was, where they won 1-0. So that's a decent. I say decent. That's not really the right word to use. The fact that he's, we're talking about a player who's just got injured, but ultimately, it's good for us. So I think we can get a result against Manchester City at our place. We seem to, I say, last couple of seasons we've done well there. So why not? Villa Park will be bouncing against a team like that. Why not?
Yeah, exactly that. Like, at the end of the day, we've got 3 games where we're going into it as underdogs probably with the way we've been playing and stuff. But at the same time, we've done it before. We can do it again. With Spurs away, always seems to be a bit of a struggle, but it's a winnable game. Man City at home, we've won it twice in the last 2 years, and then Liverpool away, we never do anything at Anfield. But they're not playing well at the moment, and results are results. Games happen. Overall, though, Ben, I think we've probably discussed everything that we need to, unless there's anything else you can think of.
Not from me, no.
No. Well, in that case, thank you very much, everyone. And if you've made it this far, as we said, make sure you hit that subscribe button and go and enter the giveaway over on TikTok. We appreciate all the support so far. And as always, up the Villa.
Up the Villa.